There you go.
Hey there, Kevin O'Neill with the Buffalo Commander, and I'm here with Alex. What's going on, Alex?
What's up?
What's up? And today we're going to talk a little bit about the Commanders and who's available, who do we think we want, who do we need, and also a little bit about our free agents that we have and who we would prefer to retain and who we really don't care about if they go anywhere. So, if you want me to just jump right into that, Alex, I think you've got a graphic for you might help me out here when I go down the list.
Yeah. I'll go. I'm going to pull up over the cap just so everybody can view it.
Yeah.
And do you not want me to do that?
No, that's fine. I think what I want to do is start with the positions and what I think, and I think what the majority of Commanders fans would agree with is what positions we really need help in.
Okay.
The big one I would say is linebackers for sure.
Okay.
We've struggled in that. We really don't have any kind of team leaders in that position. And to be honest, even before Rivera, that's been a really weak position for us. You would think with Rivera being a defensive guy, we'd be good, but we've been terrible. So that's an absolute need. The other one is O-line, obviously. So we've got middle linebacker, outside linebacker, and then we've got O-line for sure. We had a lot of struggles with that, so I'm going to go over that. And then the edge position as well. So I'm going to start with probably my most favorite out of all these is Devin White. Devin White with Tampa Bay. I've been a big fan of his for quite a while. I still remember with Taylor Heineke in that playoff game against Tampa.
Yeah.
We almost won that game. We had a chance, but Devin White was hurt in that game, did not play. That's the only reason, in my opinion. I feel like that's the only reason we had a shot, because that dude is amazing.
He's also he's only 26 years old. I got him pulled up on the screen now.
Yeah, super young. He creates fumbles. He's just always on top of the ball. He's all over the field. And I feel like he could be that leader, that Mike guy. I don't know if he's the Mike now. Do you know if he is, Alex?
I think he still plays the Mike for them.
Okay.
He's a hybrid. He can get all over the place.
Super smart guy. Yeah.
Valuation's cheap. I'm wondering if this is accurate as it relates to
his market value.
His market value. I'm also going to pull up Spot Rack real quick while you're doing it. Hold on. You can keep talking if you want to, but Spot Rack, Devin White.
Yeah, but we haven't had this type of player on our team, and maybe since London Fletcher. That'd be a good. But I think he's way more talented than London Fletcher, and it does a lot more on the field.
Yeah, 10.7 million is where he's at.
Yeah, I mean, we can afford him, obviously. Yeah. So I think this is somebody that should be at the absolute top of our list.
Okay.
Before I even get anybody else, I think that's the most important person to me personally.
I think the problem in the past too has been just. I think Washington's done a really poor job of drafting linebackers.
Absolutely.
They took the kid was he from Kentucky?
Yeah,
a couple years ago, and he just hasn't panned out. I mean, I think he might have a role in the team, but he's definitely not what.
Yeah, I don't know why his name is escaping me, but he's one that I think we should definitely still. I mean, obviously he's still in a contract. I think he's got a role still. He's really fast, left to right on the field.
Yeah.
Why can I not remember his name? But they started him in the inside linebacker position and kind of being the head, and he was not good at that. Was not good. They moved him outside last year. He did much better and was much more physical.
He's pretty small too.
Yeah, he's not
a smaller guy.
Yeah, but he's built like a brick. So I do think he definitely will still have a role for sure.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of guy that really makes all the other linebackers better. I mean, we had Cody freaking Barton as our head linebacker, and the guy is just absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Jamin Davis is who you're thinking about.
Jamin Davis, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So he's the big one. So as far as outside linebackers, I mean, and we haven't even talked about our cap room and ability to spend a lot of money, but we got a lot of room there. I think we're ranked maybe second or third. I don't think
you're up there $70 million or more.
Okay.
And
I know you have. I know you've got some experience and some thoughts on this guy, Alex, since he beat y'all. And he had a pretty good game. But Josh Allen with the Jaguars.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
I mean, you want to talk about a big dude. He's 6'5". He's 230 almost, and still he's only 26. Fairly young guy. I like the young linebackers. He can play edge. I think he did a lot of that at the Jaguars. He was third in sacks last year, a little bit more than what he was the year before that. So I'm a big fan of this dude. What do you think?
I love Josh Allen. I like both Josh Allens, obviously. But one of the Josh Allens drives the Bills nuts every time we play him, and that's the defensive end version. I think he's bigger than that. I think he's like 6'5", and he's got to be 240 something. He's a monster. But he's
I've
he's
got
really quick off the edge. Yeah, he's a big boy. I love his repertoire. He can play on the line in the 3-point stance. He can play the 2-point stance, stand up, 3-4 outside linebacker. He can play 4-3 edge, defensive end if he needs to. He's big enough to do that. My question is with him is going to be he's going to want a top end contract probably, and you can afford that, right? So it's not like the end of the world. Yeah, it's not like a big deal for you, but I mean he's probably going to want upwards of at least $25 million a year. I think that's what he's really searching for, and that's why the Jags. The only downside is the Jags could franchise tag him to keep him around for a little longer. Without having anyone, basically just protecting him. And now if he could hold out, if he gets on the franchise tag too, but I mean, I don't know if
what would you say the average salary is for a
top end defensive? Yeah, I mean,
what did they do? The top 5 or something like that for franchise?
Oh yeah, franchise tags the average of the top 5 at the position. I think transition tag is top 15 at the position. Or used to be, but they changed the franchise tag in recent years where like it used to give you compensation. Now you don't get compensation for transition tag. Now they have an exclusive rights franchise tag where everybody can match them. And then if they don't match back, they get the player. But if you franchise and no one's matching, you want to trade them, it's usually 2 first-round picks. So, but he's going to make $25 million a year.
Yeah.
At least. And that, I mean, you're a team that can afford that and you need it. I mean, you need that. Daniel Hunter is the other option. He's a trade candidate. He wouldn't be a free agent, but Daniel Hunter is another player that would be great. The difference with Daniel Hunter is he might get 18.
Well, I looked him up and he's older. He's older. And for me personally, that's just opinion. I don't want somebody I mean, when we say older, it's all relative, but I think he was like 29 or something.
Yeah, he's like 29, almost 30. The other guy that I think you should look at, and I think he might get franchised too, but I heard today Brian Burns is on the market he's a free agent, but they're not even close on a contract than him in Carolina. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to go back there. And Washington would be a great destination for him because it's a close commute. I mean, I know people don't think about this, but players care about where they play and like how easy it is to move there and things of that nature. That's a thing, just like you picking up and moving for a job, even if it's a promotion, you're going to want to work out those logistics and closer the better. So Washington would be a good spot for him too. He's smaller than those guys. Like he's more limited, like a Leonard Floyd, who we might get into next, where he's quick and fast, but he's not going to be like an edge setter or a run defender.
Okay. Yep. Well, I would love to have him. The other outside linebacker I put on here, and again, you're going to have a lot to say about this one, and that's Leonard Floyd. Okay. So he gets a lot of sacks. He had more in 22, but he still had 9 sacks last year, 23. He is a little bit older, but I just feel like we could probably get a good price for him. Although I don't know how you guys feel about him as far as the Bills. What's your take on him?
He saved our team and our pass rush in some ways. When Von Miller came back, he wasn't himself, and we didn't have anyone to take away the load. And he had played with Von in LA with the Rams, and he was a guy who, in my opinion, was an underrated player. He always has been. He was playing on a prove it deal pretty much. So I think he's going to cost more than what we paid him this year, the $9 million or whatever we paid.
I think it was like 7.
Yeah, it was like 7, but with incentives, it was 9. He had his incentives because he had 10. I think he had 10.5 sacks. So he was up there pretty high.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a pass rusher. The problem with him is he just like I was saying a second ago about Brian Burns doesn't have this issue as much because he's younger, but I think Floyd ends up wearing down because of his size. He's only about 240, 250, and he's 6'6". So he's light for a guy that height at that position. So I think as the year went along, he wore down a little bit and he was unable to maintain his sack production, his pass rush win rate and stuff like that dropped as the season went along. But he's going to give you right out the gate. He's going to be, he's explosive.
Yeah.
And he's bendy and he gets around the edge and he's able to do the things he needs to do to get sacked. So he's not going to provide much for you in the run game. He's okay, I guess. But.
Well, for as a Commanders fan, compare him to somebody like Montez Sweat. Just because I'm used to him. How to somebody like
Montez Sweat is a better run defender for sure, and he's going to make less mistakes. So Montez Sweat could set the edge, and if that's his role in that play, and his role is not to rush upfield and get around, his role was to set the edge, hold up the tackle, so you can contain the quarterback or whatever it may be. Like Sweat's doing a better job of that. Sweat's built more for that because he's 250, 60, 260, 270 pounds. Where Floyd's not going to do that. Floyd's just going to give you some juice. So you'll see Floyd flash. You're like, whoa, we're like, he's explosive. Like he got a sack and where'd it come from? And then he might disappear for a while.
Yeah.
Where Sweat's just going to be more steady. He's going to probably end up getting the same amount of sacks every year, but it's just going to be more of a consistent throughout. I'd rather have Sweat as a player long-term for sure, and as an all-around player. Sweat's a better player. But Sweat's going to ask for a lot more money. Sweat's going to want 22, whatever it is. I don't even know. I think he got paid already. Right?
Oh, he got paid already. He got it for sure.
What do you get, like $20 million, $22 million, something like that?
I think it was more than that. Can you pull that up or no?
Yeah, I can look at that.
I'm just curious now because I think he actually got more than that.
Yeah.
It was huge.
Sweat. Let's see. Yeah. He got paid 4 years, 98. So he's 26-ish, right? No, 24-ish $1 million. So it's funny, the first year cap is next year, $25 million. They're probably going to restructure that. But you can see it's $25 million, $85,000 every single year here. There's a potential out in 2026. So that's not the kind of contract. When you get Floyd, but the balance is there, right? So like you're going to get Floyd for $10 million, but you're getting like 80% of the player that Sweat is at 40% of the cost.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So it makes more sense for your team.
It makes more sense
in short term. Yeah.
Right. Well, this one is going to surprise you guys, maybe a little bit. I don't know. I think maybe you and I talked about this, but Chase Young is a free agent. So hear me out on this. Chase Young is not the guy that we thought we got when we drafted him. I think that's clear. He's not an elite, but he's undisciplined. You talked about setting the edge. I think he was one of the worst as far as when that's his role. He didn't do it. He would just dart up the field. And we got a little sample size with 49ers, which I thought was great because we could see how he would compare and contrast with a different team. He had a sack, in the Super Bowl, but I think we really saw more of the same with him. Now, with that said, he's a really good teammate. He's always got a pat. I know that sounds silly, but it's important. He's a really good team player. I like him a lot.
He's from the area. He's from the area.
He's freaky athletic and huge and really strong. So, we might be able to get a good price on him, or not necessarily good, but a price that's reasonable based on what we know he can do for us. Yeah. And I think with this coaching staff, he might be able to play a role for us because they know what his limitations are. They know what he's good at, and they can kind of put him in a position where he can succeed and he doesn't hurt the team. So I think he's intriguing for him to come back, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does. So we'll see what happens with that.
I wouldn't mind him coming back on the screen, you see 13 million is AAV market value potential. I think that's right, just because he hasn't done a lot. I mean, he's a bust for a number 2 pick, but he's not a bust for if he was a second rounder, he'd be fine.
Not at all. Not at all. And he's still, he was injured his second year, but he's still young. He's got a lot of juice left. So I think we should give him a shot. Personally.
If you get him back, you basically got him. You got a free third, fourth round pick.
Yeah,
because you get the player back.
It was a compensatory pick, which, but yeah, I think
third.
It was a third. Yeah,
it has to be a third. Then if it's compensatory, I mean, I think that's interesting. I would do it personally. I'm not as low on Chase Young as you are. I think he's got his problems, but as a defensive end too,
I mean, again, I'm not super low on him. I don't hate him or anything. I think that I knew that he was a bust, and I thought it was a good move trading him because at that point we just wanted to get value, get something back, and we did. Now it's a new day. It's off season, and now we can reevaluate him and see if he could help our team. So I'm all about it.
He might come back for less than 13. Spot Rec's not always right. It's usually off by a couple million up or down. So
I mean, for one, he might realize that this might be a wake-up call for him in the offseason where he realizes that maybe, okay, I think I know who I am now, and I'm not getting the money maybe I thought I was going to get. And he might get a little dose of humble pie out there in the market, and then he decides he wants to come back to the Commanders. We'll see.
I still think he's going to have a big market. I just don't know how.
You think?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. I mean, a lot of teams would probably want to.
He's too freaky.
I agree with that.
He's too muscular and jacked, and he looks like a dude who could kill you. He's just a monster.
No, that's true.
They want those kind of dudes. So somebody's going to think that y'all missed on him and didn't use him right, and they're going to see the Super Bowl.
Somebody's going to think, yep, exactly right. Yep.
And they're going to be like, oh, we can do something with this guy.
And maybe Joe Witt thinks that too, our new defensive coordinator, who is incredible, by the way. If you haven't watched, did you end up watching his press conference?
I did not, but I had some notes about Dallas here too. But I want to do it once we get to the point where we're talking about offensive line.
Absolutely. All right. Well, O-line. I do have two guys that I'm really intrigued by. And again, I feel like we can spend as much. We got an open checkbook here. But the tackle, Jonah Williams with the Bengals.
Yep.
This dude looks like a freight to me. He was 8th in sacks allowed last year. He's really durable. He played over 1,000 snaps, which I love to see, so we don't have that issue. So again, I think that's somebody we should definitely go after.
$10 million.
Yeah, there he is. Look at that dude. I mean, actually, I don't know why I'm saying it. It looks like your typical,
yeah. Well, the funny story is when he came out of college, Buffalo needed. Well, I didn't think Deion Dawkins was the guy, so I was like, well, Deion's not developing. We need a left tackle. And his concern coming out was that his arms are too short. If you don't have 34-inch arms, they don't like tackles being under 34, and they thought he might be a guard and all this stuff. He's played enough tackle now to know he can play. Yeah. And he's probably better as a right tackle than a left, just because he's mobile, but he's not like super duper athletic or mobile, but he's athletic enough. He's not a road grader, but he's definitely somebody he's an effort blocker. He can move good enough. I rank tackles by like top 10 from right or left. I don't put right and left together. So when I say he's a top 10 right tackle, that doesn't mean he'd be a top 10 or even top 20 tackle if you include the left guys. But I definitely think he's a top 10 right tackle in the NFL.
Okay.
And they kind of disrespected him a little bit. They had him on the left, and then they brought in Orlando Brown Jr., who's overrated, always has been, who refuses to play anything but left tackle because his daddy played left tackle. And he tells him that. And it's ridiculous. He's too slow-footed to be there and he's good enough, but he's long, and that's how he gets by. He's really slow feet. And Jonah Williams got pushed over to the right, and I think he's been pretty unhappy with it. I don't think he's going back to Cincinnati. He's definitely an option for you.
Well, that's great to hear.
Yeah. I don't think he's interested in I mean, I could be wrong, but I've had the vibe he's felt disrespected from the situation, just generally.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, we like to hear that.
Any other tackles you like or guard?
No, right? I looked at a couple other tackles. I've got to guard it because again, I think we need everything. We've got a couple pieces and we can go over that. A couple pieces I think we can hold on to.
Well, I want to bring up one guy before you
go ahead.
Anybody else.
Yeah.
Hold on. All right. This guy.
Yeah. I looked him up too. Yeah.
He's a really good left tackle still for Dallas. He's had some injury stuff, but he was a top 3 left tackle in the NFL at one point. He played for Dallas. I could see people following Dan Quinn to Washington. He's already
That's
had
a
some
good point.
coaches.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
He would be a great left tackle. He's 33, but he's not left tackles. I mean, they played for a long time. Remember, Jason Peters played till he was my age. He is my age. He's still playing. He's 42 years old. So I could see that happening potentially. He's only 33. 7.4 million is what they had him here. I don't think he's signing for that little. But Dallas is trying to work something out with him, of course, because he's been there forever. But I could see Dan Quinn having an inside track on him, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's just my one guy I wanted to bring up. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I'm glad you said that. And I want to say we have a couple other Cowboys coaches on the staff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to try to pull that up, but of course, I can't find that right now. But I want to say we've got somebody else that's
From the offense.
From the offense, which makes your point even stronger.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's a good point. No, I have a guard here that I did a lot of research on, and I like him a lot. Connor Williams.
Yeah, Connor Williams. I'm very familiar.
So, yeah. So he did hurt himself last year. He had a torn ACL. Which,
very early in the season, though.
But before that, he was just another really super durable dude. Mm-hmm. He played a lot of games. He was in the top 10 for sacks allowed and penalties the last few years. He just seems to be one of those like guys you don't have to worry about him. He's on the Dolphins. I think he also was on the Cowboys before that.
He's a left guard. Yep.
Yeah. So I like this guy a lot. What do you think?
So yeah, he was on the Dallas. He was their left guard, and he hit free agency in Miami and snagged him and turned him into a center. He was rated by PFF as the top center in football in 2022. He got hurt this year, early in the season though, so it wasn't like I forget when it was. I think it was like October. So he could, as a lineman, you can come back from an ACL within 10 months to a year. If you're a linebacker, you can't. They need to have. They don't need to be agile or quick. You need to be able to push a lot, and as a tackle, like it hurts. I mean, you're still going to be a 10-month to a year recovery for sure, but it's not going to zap as much athleticism from you. Like typically Von Miller this year, he's getting old, but his athleticism was shot. But usually with an ACL and a high like a position that requires you to be a high level athlete, they take almost 2 years to get back to their former self. But with a lineman, like a center or a guard, especially like an interior lineman, that's not usually the case. Those guys can usually come back just as strong after their year. You don't have to worry about it quite as much. So he's definitely an option. It depends on what you need. Is center or guard maybe more of a need for you guys is the question.
Well, I think both of those. I mean, our new guard our center we got kind of sucks. We end up using Tyler Larson that has been around for us for years, and he's pretty good. He's serviceable. But I love that this guy's,
he's 26 too, by the way. He's played a lot of football, and he's only 26 years old.
Yeah. I love that about him. I like that he's got that versatility. So
he's 26. He's center, guard, flex. You probably bring him in as a center, I would think, just because that's where he's been for the last few years, and that's the way he's looking to get paid. Like centers make more money on the open market than like a right guard, typically. Pound for pound anyway, maybe not your elite level one, but like overall they're going to get paid more. But yeah, he's a good one. If you got him, even if you don't get Tyron Smith, you got him and Jonah Williams, your line all of a sudden is much better.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Well, that's what I got, man. No, that's unless you wanted to add. Those are the ones that I really want to target. I had 5 there. You have one too.
So Daniel Hunter was one that could be possible had in a trade.
Pull up his info.
Yeah. I think he's 32. No, he's 29. Sorry. That's still older for a defensive end.
Right.
He's technically a UFA, but he's got void years on his contract there. His market value is $20 million. I mean, he's good. He had I think he had 15 sacks last year. I don't know the number exactly. I don't have it in front of me, but he was definitely in double digits. He had one of his best years of his career last year too. That's another plus. So I think he's playing for a contract a little bit, but he's a top 10 edge rusher in the league for sure. He's He's a guy who plays well against the run. Also, he's an underappreciated guy because he's been in Minnesota for so long. I think he'd be a good fit because the way I see with your roster construction too is with your offensive line, you need help, but I think mainly you can get by with some of the interior guys. You just need some more tackle help. You can probably get by with the middle dudes, even though you have so much money, it probably doesn't matter. But then I think tight end needs to be maybe a target for you guys in round 2 of the draft. There's a guy from Texas that's pretty good. I think he's the second-rated tight end in the draft. He'd be good for you guys. So I wouldn't necessarily target one in free agency. And then
I think they're going to fall in love with Armani Rogers too. He was a pick for us last year, and he blew everybody away in the offseason or the preseason, and it hurt himself. And we never saw him. So I think, but I agree. Tight end's going to be super important.
Yep. And then say edge and linebacker too is probably I think that edge is a big deal because then you can get by with some of the deficiencies in the secondary potentially. Didn't you want to talk about Cam Curl a little bit too?
Well, yeah, he's a free agent, so I was going to get into the other free agents available.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm good with defensive end too, then.
Okay. All right. Well, actually, let me share my screen.
Okay. Well, let me get out of mine real quick. Remove. There we go. All right. And I'm going to get rid of mine completely. There we go.
All right. Here we go. All right. You can see that?
Not yet. Have you click the hold on. It's not add to storage. There we go. Now I can see it.
All right. So I'm not going to go over all of these, but I definitely want to go over some of them because, you really want to look at who you think should stay on this team, who's worth really going after and keeping, and who you want to, say bye-bye to. So Curtis Samuel is a guy, I love this guy on our team. He's super talented. The first year he's with us, he was injured. And then the year after that, he was pretty decent. And he did pretty good last year. Yeah. But I think he's going to be desired by a lot of different teams.
Yeah.
Because he's somebody that you can just plug in and just really help out a team like the Bills, like the Chiefs. I definitely see him going somewhere. I'd love to keep him, but I don't know if we necessarily need to, even though we have a lot of money, I don't know if we need to be spending a lot of money on a player like this with his very specific skills. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's you'd like to think he's a slot player, but most of his utilization is
it's around the line,
like quasi running back, outside receiver at times. It reminds me of the way they used to use Percy Harvin in Florida when he was in college, where he was is he really a wide receiver? He's just a Swiss. He's one of the best Swiss Army knives in the league.
I agree.
I don't want Buffalo to spend $10 million on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd love to have a guy like that. And I think we can utilize Khalil Shakir is not quite that. He's more of a regular true slot, but he's going to have and my point is not to bring up Buffalo, but he's going to have a hard time finding a niche on a team where they have a specific role for him. And they're we'll pay you $10 million to do that,
Right. Yeah.
So he might come at a discount, especially kind of with his career, with injuries and things like that. He already knows the personnel, at least. He doesn't know the system, but he knows the personnel on your offense. It depends if Kingsbury has a goal for him,
Yeah, which he very well might.
Yeah, he might.
But I'm not putting him on the top of my list.
Yeah. No, I don't. Let him test free agency, see what he's worth. And then if he's good deal, come bring him back. That's how I feel about him too.
All right, so Kendall Fuller, I definitely think we should re-sign him. I like him a lot.
How old is he?
He's up there, but
he's 29.
He's 29, and he'll fuck up a couple times for sure, but he'll also get you a couple picks. And he likes to jump routes, but he only does it in perfect times. Mm-hmm. It seems like he's never wrong when he does do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's got a family his whole family's in the NFL. But I like him, and I think he's what they're probably going to be looking for as far as leadership, because we've got a lot of young players on defense. So I say definitely re-sign him.
I would too. I think your corner room, so your corner room to me is a little bit concerning, unless they can salvage Forbes. But there are some corners on the market this year that are worth looking at, in my opinion.
It's funny you said that because I can't remember his name, but there's somebody. They asked a group of GMs, and it was anonymous, and you had to say, what's one player do you think is going to shock everybody? And one guy said Emmanuel Forbes, and I'm like, really? Okay. Like maybe being a comeback player, maybe he needs to be utilized.
Dan Quinn, Quinn's good at this. He's turned.
So we'll see.
Bland,
he could be the next Diggs that was for the Cowboys. Yeah. For
Diggs
sure.
is a different player than Diggs is more physical, but Forbes is faster and has more athleticism.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Jalen Johnson and L'Jarius Sneed are on the market. L'Jarius Sneed just won a Super Bowl. He probably won't leave Kansas City, I don't think. Hopefully he does.
Right.
Jalen Johnson's another one, Chicago. And then Stephon Gilmore's out there too. So those are the top three, in my opinion.
Okay.
That could potentially come. But I didn't want to go tangent. I thought of it.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
All right, Jacoby Brissett. This is important. So we're obviously drafting a quarterback. So I love Jacoby Brissett for the fact that he was amazing with Sam Howell. He's really good at mentoring, a young quarterback. He's been around the league. Every team that he goes to, they love him.
Yeah.
And he's pretty damn good. I mean, obviously I know he's not like your top starting quarterback, but he's definitely at the top as far as backups.
He might be the best backup.
We know that we're drafting a quarterback. I think this is a guy that you definitely want on your team to help him out. Now, what does that obviously mean, though, if we've got a new quarterback, we've got Jacoby Brissett as the backup? It means that we probably won't have Sam Howell. I think that we're going to probably trade him.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Because there's definitely going to be a team interested in him. I saw a couple of things on Twitter about maybe the Jets being interested in somebody like Sam Howell.
That too. Yeah, I saw that too.
So we'll see because, he's on a rookie contract, so we could easily trade him and get some value back. And if he's not going to work with what we're doing, I think it's perfect. I love the guys. Love Sam Howell. Seems like a nice kid, but that's what I think is probably going to happen there.
I like that. Send him to the Jets. Get yourself a fourth round pick back. 1 round better than you picked him.
Yeah.
Let Brissett be the best backup in the league, which he is. Because you have a lot of these other guys like Josh Dobbs, right? Josh Dobbs was supposed to be the best. He played so good as a backup, but honestly, we only know of like 4 or 5 games he's played. He jumped 3 teams. So if you're talking about backups, Brissett has the history to know that like Brissett's going to be the same everywhere he goes now as a backup, career backup versus, Dobbs might not be good again next year. We've only seen him play 4 or 5 games. He was very good in those times, but he actually trailed a little bit down the stretch. So I'd keep Brissett if you can keep him. Tell him he has a role to bring the other guy around. Tell him, lie to him and tell him he can start potentially. And then, hey, you got a chance. And then Howell, unfortunately, leaves. I don't think it helps you having 2 very young quarterbacks in your room. It just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. I agree.
He needs a mentor.
Yeah.
All
right, Cody Barton, get rid of this dude. He's freaking terrible. That's all I want to say about him. Cornelius Lucas, I really don't have an opinion about that. Not sure if you do. Jeremy Reeves, I love this guy. I don't know if you remember, Alex, but this is the guy that I've always talked about over the last few years with you. I hope they don't cut him. He's good. I think he ended up getting Pro Bowl for special teams last year. He's just a winner.
He's your preseason darling every year.
He really is,
man. Everybody's got him.
I like him a lot, and he always has big plays on special teams. So I think we should definitely try to re-sign him. Edge, I feel like we can't have enough edge players right now, so at least sign him and see what we can do with Efe Obada.
I'd keep him.
Khaleke Hudson, I personally wasn't a big fan of his, so I don't care too much. Tyler Larson, I mentioned, I think he's an okay center.
Sure.
David Mayo is another one that has to freaking go. This guy, David Mayo and Cody Barton, it's like the same player. Get out of there.
Yeah, you're going to need a linebacker. You may actually target linebacker first in free agency.
Yeah, I think I know what you're going to say about Antonio Gibson because you've always been a fan, but I don't really care if he goes away, personally. He's really good, though. He's really good, but I just he's a
former wide receiver, and he can catch, right? So I like his game. You know, he's 20. He's only 25. 26. He's he's in that prime of his career. He had fumbling issues that he got over, I think, right?
Yep. No, sort of.
Yeah. I like him better than Robinson.
See, I love Robinson, and I think Robinson
looks slow to me. He looks not explosive.
But he's a beast. He really is. He just keeps moving forward. So is Gibson is a hard runner too, and he's got more
speed though. He can burst it out. What's your idea then? You're just going to fill backup running back in the draft, or are you going to target anybody in free agency? You think?
Yeah. You know who I think we should target? What's the Cowboys running back?
What's his name? Which one? The guy,
the little one.
Jesus Christ. Dallas. I'm gonna look it up now.
Why can't I think of his name? But I think he's available, and I just think he'd be a better fit personally. Pollard.
Oh, Pollard. That's what I was thinking of. Okay, I was thinking Pena. He's available?
I thought he was. Is he not?
I don't know. I'm about to find out.
Okay, maybe he's not.
Hold up. I'm gonna find out right now.
All right. Well, you look that up. Yeah. I'm gonna keep going down this list. Joey Sly, kicker. You got to go, dude. He's got a pretty good arm, good leg. But
you're right. He's a free agent. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, he can come too. Shit. I mean,
what's that?
You can poach all Dallas's players.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And I always like Tony Pollard. I mean, he's not a premier back. You're not going to build it around him.
He's good in that role, though.
He's good in that role.
Like that secondary role.
He would be a perfect fit. Mm-hmm. And I love that idea.
Okay.
No, and then again, we basically have the Cowboys coaching staff. So
yeah.
Except their terrible head coach.
Yeah. Left a bad one, huh?
Jamison Crowder. He's been on the Washington before. He's been with the Bills before. Mm-hmm. I like him as just a punt returner, kickoff return.
Did he get hurt this year at all, or no?
No, he didn't get hurt.
He was healthy this year.
He was healthy, and he did great. He did a great job.
Always gets hurt.
Probably because we've always had such a bad person for that role that anybody with talent we like.
Yeah.
I like him for that role.
Personally. He always gets hurt. Always.
Does he? Okay.
Well, he was hurt in Washington for a little bit. Came to Buffalo, got hurt immediately.
Yeah,
we cut him and came back to you. He was supposed to be our slot receiver. He's starting slot wide receiver potential.
Okay.
But he's never healthy.
Yeah,
he was healthy last year, which means you have a role that he can fill. You need a wide receiver 5 and a wide receiver 6, probably. He could do that and be really good at it.
Well, I know. I mean, for me, 30 years old, injury prone, I would prefer for him just to focus on one thing, and that's special teams.
Yeah. He won't ever get on the field as a receiver. As a sixth,
yeah. You're right. And that's kind of what he did. That's what he did this last year. Yeah. I'm going to skip a couple people because I don't want to take up too much time, but definitely Cameron Curl, somebody that we need to talk about.
Okay.
He's only 24. He's definitely known now in the league, although he's a little under the radar. Mm-hmm. But he's definitely somebody that we should re-sign. He fits in that role of a great mindset, good team player, always says the right things in front of the press. He's very sticky on players. You'll always see him on a third down that knocks away a third down conversion that the offense was trying to get. Yep. Doesn't get a lot of picks, but he's a safety. I don't know. I don't know. So now the other thing is, I think he's good for the team because we've got this young guy, Quan Martin, who also has shown a lot of talent. Mm-hmm. And I think it's good to have a young guy with this Cameron Curl, who's still fairly young, but he's got experience.
Yeah.
And I love that duo for that position.
Yeah. So we looked at it earlier, the market value. So you don't, unless you want to click it. I don't know how many people you're talking about on the page left, but if you want to click it to see that his market value is pretty high. I like PFF for their, it's all subjective in some ways, but they look at situationally how they perform, regardless if the ball comes their way and things like that, right? So it gives you a pretty good insight, even though it's subjective. Yeah. It gives you an idea of like, okay, if a receiver doesn't get a pass thrown his way, but he's still open, he gets positive grades for that, right? Quarterbacks.
Do you have that open right now?
Yeah, I got it up.
Hold on. The only other person I wanted to mention that I really like is Casey Toohill. Mm-hmm. I just always have been impressed with him. Every time he comes on the field, it seems like he has a big play, but he didn't get a lot of playing time. And he's already 27 though, so that tells me maybe they weren't like super impressed with him, but I always liked him. Yeah. So I'd like to see him back too.
And you get a depth player out of it, right? If you like him, like not all your guys are going to be elite pass rushers, right? So you need to figure out which ones you want to keep and which ones you want to stay with. Hold on, I'll show you. So this is just Cam Curl stuff, and this is nothing crazy, but
no, but I like PFF because they take everything into account.
I like it too, and this is why. Okay, can you see it? Good.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna jump screens. So I like it too. Like I said before, it gives you some analytics. Like I don't subscribe to PFF, as you can see, but I can still see your overall grades online, and I can usually tell a little bit by that because it gives you kind of an overall run pass grade, both a coverage grade too. So you know,
what are you looking at? 2020.
I'm at 20 right now. I'm just going to go take you through.
Okay, I was going to say I didn't.
So that was his first year rookie. 68.1 was his grade, which typically grades out somewhere in like low end starter as a rookie, which is good. 2021, same deal, 69. Incredibly consistent. Not a lot of picks. 3 interceptions his first year. He hasn't had an interception since his first year. But last year, he was an 82 years ago, 82.9. That's like elite starter level. Okay. And then 2023, he's 66.6 again. Which is still solid. That's fine. You know, you'll see a lot of elite safeties and be like, oh man, I can't believe they graded a 60 something on PFF. 60 grading is not like a test, right? Yeah. It's a good score overall. So my point is that I do think that he's worth bringing back. I'd like to have him in Buffalo, but his cost after looking at it today is way out of our price range.
Yeah. I think he's gonna, and I think he's gonna definitely look out and see who wants to pay, and I think a lot of people are gonna want to pay.
Yeah. And then
again, this is the first time. I'm not even exaggerating, and probably trying to think of the different defensive people we've had, maybe since Marvin Lewis, that where we actually have a defensive coach and the whole coaching staff where we actually can draw players,
right?
And they're not just looking for the biggest paycheck. That's usually all we can do is just overpay somebody that's not even worth it. So I think that's also going to attract him for what we want to do here. So I'm hoping that we can get him, and we do have the money to spend.
Right? Yeah, you can pay him. I don't think he goes. I think he stays. I don't think you let him out the door. Quan Martin is a good guy too, like you were saying.
Yeah, I love him.
He's like his combine scores were off the charts. He's like a 10 RAS score, which is a relative athletic score they do every year on all the combine invites. Yeah. He had like a 44-inch vertical, which is like Michael Jordan.
That's crazy.
He's 5'10". Maybe higher. Maybe it's like Vince Carter. I don't know. It's really high. And he ran like mid 4.4s. So he's got good speed, really good athlete.
Yeah,
second round pick. I liked him last year. He was one of those guys that moved up boards late in the draft cycle. I think a lot of it's because he tested so well. So you'd have a really good safety duo going forward, and you can have one guy can teach the other one, and they're both under 25 years old.
Well, Ron Rivera, he started to play Quan Martin a lot in the second half of the season last year. I think because he knew he was probably out the door, and he was probably like, well, look at who I drafted, which I have to give it to him. I mean, he did draft him, and I think he's pretty good.
Yeah.
And he got 2 picks, and he's all over the field. He looked great. So I'm excited to see him on the field again too.
I like it. Yeah, I like that idea. So I think too, like if you bring Kendall Fuller back, you could probably target a corner in the draft, maybe even one in free agency, but you want to still be careful. You don't want to spend all $70 million of your dollars up front.
You definitely I think you're right about that. I mean, you have Forbes, who you don't know if he's any good. He could still be a bust. He could turn it around. And you have Kendall Fuller, who's up there. He does get injured. So I think you need to definitely have some depth there.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, you have a situation where you've got a young guy that can kind of come along. And it'd be great if you get Stephon Gilmore. I think he'd be a perfect mentor for him. Yeah. And he's still got a lot of juice, even though he's in his early 30s, but he can still play. He's been good for the last 3 years, even when people are saying like, oh, he can't play anymore. He still continues to do it, which means you're probably going to give him at a discount. Yeah. And that'll be a good pick for you if you could pull it off. Safeties are fine. Defensive end, you're probably going to do at least one big time signing. And then you probably need multiple. Like Devin White would be ideal in addition to maybe another, good, well-priced linebacker in the mid tiers,
Yeah.
And that'd be good. And then offensively, you're really not that bad off. Like
No.
You could bring in a tackle and you need a tight end probably, but that's really all you need. Like, you don't need that much. Your line needed work last year, but I think you could get by if you brought in Jonah Williams and a Connor Williams, like
Oh man.
had that combo. That could be an option. I don't think Miami can bring him back. They're $50 million, no, $60 million over the cap. They're worse than Buffalo. And they've got a lot of guys to bring back. Connor Williams I think they want to move on from it and not pay him top dollar. And he wants top dollar, and Washington would be a good spot for him. So,
yeah, I think I might have seen that NFL was raising the cap though, like 10 million.
Yeah, it's like 8 or 10 or something. I forget what it is. They were supposed to be 242, and I think now it's gonna be like 250 or 251.
250.
Yeah, so like 8. So that's good for teams like myself. Also good for Washington, but Buffalo really needs it. So
that's just inflation. That's all that is. So
well, I think the TV deals are more lucrative than they thought.
Yeah.
They start looking at the reports this time of year, and they got to come out with it. They have to come out with it before teams start to do their cutdowns because they need to be under a certain line by the league year. So they have to get all that situated in advance. So we're going to know about this in the next week or two, what it officially is. So, but Washington's got an exciting free agency ahead of them. I think when that Monday starts, the tampering period, you start hearing about all the signings. Like this is the first exciting piece of the year. This is fun.
One last nugget. One last nugget. Speaking of tampering, I think it's actually been confirmed that Magic Johnson is the one that definitely got Cliff Kingsbury to come over to the Commanders. He was ready to sign on that dotted line with the Raiders.
Yeah.
There is an interview that Antonio Pierce did with, I can't remember who the interviewer was, but he essentially confirmed that Magic Johnson's the reason. Magic Johnson called him and got him to come over to the Commanders. So
he's definitely high profile. We'll see what Kingsbury does when he gets there, right? Like
he definitely is high profile. I think it's So he still has actually a little bit more like we need to see results now. For sure.
It's an exciting move for the fans. I wonder. Like one of the downfalls of him is his offense has always started the season off really, really good, and then they fade down the stretch a little bit. But a lot of that might be just because of he's head coach. He's not the OC. So you lose focus as you're doing other things and having to manage different pieces of the team during the season. Your game planning for the offense takes not a backseat, but definitely the time gets divided up. And I wonder if that's why that is. We'll find out here shortly. But I like him. I like him just as good as I like everybody loves Ben Johnson. I like him just as good as like Ben. Ben's a good guy. He's a nice guy. I just don't know if he's as elite as people say he is.
Well, I think he realized he had some self-awareness that he wasn't ready for that position as a head coach. And kudos to him. And I don't want to say that we dodged a bullet because I believe we truly wanted Dan Quinn. I mean, the reports were out that we were really interested. I think you even sent one to me to try to make fun of me.
Yeah, I did.
But now I think that in hindsight, so many people came out and said, "Oh, this man is the man. He's the dude." And look at what he was able to bring in. Do you think Ben Johnson would have been able to bring in all these people?
No, probably not. I don't know who he would have brought. Like,
I mean, you had people turning down jobs for lower positions just to work for Dan Quinn at the Commanders. So,
like, just defensive coordinator, who would he have brought in?
Yeah,
I don't know the answer to that. Like, he wasn't going to bring in Aaron Glenn. He's the DC in the Lions, right? He's up for head coaching jobs. He wouldn't take a lateral move to come to Washington and want to just stay in Detroit. So, who would he have known to build the staff out? I don't know. He would have. Kingsbury and his offenses are very different. There's no way he would have brought Kingsbury in to run his offense. He probably would have brought the quarterback coach in from Detroit.
No, you're right.
So it might, as a staff, if I'm Washington, I'm excited because you have a cool staff.
I'm so
Dan
excited.
Quinn wasn't super, oh my God, this is a great signing. But everything else about it was, in my opinion, fantastic from the beginning.
I agree.
So maybe that was the idea. I think Ben Johnson, personally, was still their number one choice because he was like the exciting choice. But I think Dan Quinn was always there and they were close. And I think they would have taken Ben, not because he's better, I think they would have taken Ben because it made the fans excited more.
Well, did you ever date somebody and you just kind of started to get vibes from the girl that maybe she wasn't into you anymore and you felt like maybe she's going to break up with you? So you quickly.
That's never happened to me.
All right. Well, okay. Anybody else listening, and really myself, have you ever felt that you were going to get broken up with? So you hurried up and you broke up with her first, and just so you could say that you broke up with her?
No,
that's what I think happened there.
No, I've done that before.
I think that they did that virtual interview with Ben. They realized this guy isn't the guy, but they were doing their due diligence. They had to go to Detroit anyways to interview the other guy. He felt the vibes, and he did it the wrong way and tried to break up with us first. I don't blame the guy. It's fine, but that's all I'm going to say about it.
That could be the case, and that has happened to me, by the way. I'm not.
You created that move, dude. Where you would be like, "Oh, I'm going to break up with her.
This is not going to work out. I'm going to look foolish here. I need to break it off now."
Yeah, exactly. That's your. You taught me that, bro.
You could, but you could have actually. I mean, there's in reverse. This has happened to everybody too. You stay in the situation too long, and you kind of hold on because you're like, well, nothing else is better, and around like you're there's nothing else, and it's passing time, but also, you're into them or whatever, and then you kind of stick with it too long, and then you end up with the wrong person. Which is what could have happened with Ben Johnson, right? You could have get in a situation where oh, well, this is Ben Johnson's the pretty girl who isn't.
I know what you were going to say.
Who isn't, she's not the right personality trait. Let's say that.
I thought you were going to say.
No, I'm not saying any of that stuff. I'm trying to keep it.
Okay. All right.
But I do think that he could have been the pretty girl that wasn't you weren't intellectually stimulated by, right?
Yeah.
And then you could have kept going. Oh well, Ben, don't back out. We really want you. We really want you. And then it would have been a bad move because he's just not ready yet.
Yeah. Now I will. Yeah. Never mind. I was going to say maybe Snyder. That would have been a Snyder move. We don't care. He's the flashy person.
We're going to pay you more. Come with us.
Yeah.
You would have paid him all the money.
Yeah, exactly.
All of it. He would have. That was what I think. That's another piece. Ben wanted a lot of money.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah,
and Washington was probably like, no, we just bought this team. We don't have any money left to give you. We're broke.
Right.
We got a salary cap.
$5 billion or $6 billion.
Yeah, he only owns another basketball. He owns a basketball team too. So
yeah.
But yeah. I think the right move. Sometimes you end up with the right coach, even if it's not your first choice,
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think it was definitely in the top two, right? But you end up with the right guy.
I agree.
Who cares how you came there? As long as he's happy and not feeling like he's second best, then it could be a good marriage,
Yeah, no, I feel like we definitely got I think we got somebody that we wanted really badly, and it worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Super excited. All right.
Cool, man.
Well, that's all I got, man.
Everybody remember to like, share, and subscribe, especially subscribe. Yep. We doubled our subscriptions, even though it's a low number. I know it sounds pathetic. Awesome. We have 22, but we had 9 a week and a half ago. So we're moving. Our
next video is going to be draft picks 6 through
tomorrow.
15.
Yeah, tomorrow we'll have Derek will come on. We'll do a 3-way. Tomorrow when we do it, though, we'll do a we'll all put our input in. So we'll have a tiebreaker vote,
I like that.
And we're going to accelerate the last one. We only have 5 picks. I think expanding it to 10 is going to be a good thing, just so we can maybe get more people to be interested in the video itself. And we'll try to be better at debating and disagreeing with each other. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. And, I'm glad we have a tiebreaker because I'm still a little bitter about pick number 1. I still truly believe Jaden Daniels is going to end up going number 1. So we'll see.
I don't know, man. That sounds really risky.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, let's see when they interview. I think Drake May could go number 1.
Okay.
Jaden Daniels, a 3rd round pick.
All right, man. We'll see.
All right, man. Remember, everybody, subscribe, like, and share. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.